Hello, here's here. In today's video I will cover the topic of actual meta in corrupted dungeons. I have prepared some weapons and the builds that goes well with them. At first I will talk about the most important things about the weapons and I will show them, and then I will show exact builds with swaps. Let's get to the point. Number 5. Whispering Bow. When I saw it couple weeks ago in corrupted dungeons, I was surprised how good it works. I was playing against this weapon a couple times and I have to say that it's pretty easy to lose playing against this build. The main tactic when using this build is keeping a distance between you and your opponent. Because of the useful E skill, you don't want to be close to your opponent. This build goes pretty well with Mage Cowl, Mercenary Jacket and any plate shoes. Mage Cowl will allow you to deal much more damage or to push back your enemy, while Mercenary Jacket, of course, will give you insane sustain. While combining your E-spell from Whispering Bow and the spell from Mercenary Jacket, you can go from 0 to full HP in a couple of seconds. Plate shoes with Rejuvenating Sprint will give you mobility and again sustain. The tactic while playing Whispering Bow you can see on the screen. Depending on the enemy's build, you can switch skills to counter them more. Another advantage of this build is price of this build. You really don't need high tiers in corrupted dungeons to successfully play it. See, this is the build for Whispering Bow. These skills which I'm using right now are the best against some melee weapons, so we can kite them. So if you're playing against some melee weapon, just pick multi-shot, frost shot, always the third passive. On the Mage Cowl you can use Force Field, the first passive. On the Mercenary Jacket always Bloodlust and the first passive. On Guardian Boots always Rejuvenating Sprint and second passive. And if you're playing against range weapon you can switch to Poisoned Arrow, Explosive Arrows, passive stays. And on the Mage Cowl you can switch to Poison, and the food which you want to use is Pork Omelette, and the cape is Tetford Cape. Number 4. Badon Bow. Another great weapon for corrupted dungeons in current meta. It can be a little bit pricey, but wins in corrupted will cover the cost of the builds for sure. The main point while using this build is again keeping the distance between you and your opponent, so it's just simply kiting him. This build goes pretty well with Mage Cowl, Royal Jacket and with some plate shoes. Mage Cowl will allow you to deal more damage or to keep the distance. Royal Jacket will give you advantage because of the cooldown reductions, and plate shoes with Rejuvenating Sprint will give you mobility and sustain. This is the Badon build for corrupted dungeons. On Badon Bow this is the skills that you should use versus ranged weapons. So Poisoned Arrow, always Frost Shot on Badon, the third passive. On Mage Cowl, Poison, the first passive. Royal Jacket, the skill Royal Banner and the third passive. Guardian Boots, Rejuvenating Sprint and the second passive. To be honest, you can use any plate shoes that you want, just pick this skill. Limhur's Cape, and you want to use Pork Omelette. If you're playing against some melee weapon, just switch your Q to multi-shot and switch your Mage Cowl to Force Field, so you will be able to kite your opponent. Number 3. Trinity Spear. Trinity Spear is, in my opinion, one of the most OP weapons in corrupted dungeons right now. You can even pick some build where you will have 1200 HP and still you will have high chance of killing much stronger opponents, if you will play this well, of course. Trinity Spears go well with Fiend Cowl, so you can remove any buffs from the enemy. One of the best armors for Trinity is Cleric Robe. Cleric Robe gives you shield, so it's great defensive, and also this shield gives you a damage boost, so you can burst your enemy way faster. Boots that goes well with Trinity Spear are Soldier Boots. They will give you extra mobility. They are great because Trinity Spear isn't really the most mobile weapon in the game. This is the build for Trinity Spear. On Trinity Spear you want to use second Q. When it comes to the W you can use Inner Focus, you can use like Impaler, the first passive, you can use Fiend Cowl, Purge and the first passive, Cleric Robe, the first passive. When it comes to the boots, you can use Soldier Boots. with Wanderlust, but if you're not comfortable with playing soldier boots, you can switch to like royal boots and you can use royal march, or you can switch to the second skill. When it comes to the cape, Thetford cape and foot, Pyramid Snapper, in my opinion it will be the best for this weapon. Number 2, Broadsword. Broadsword is the second strongest melee weapon used in corrupted dungeons right now. Lately it got insanely strong, so it's a great time to use it. The build for Broadsword is as following: for offhand, taproot, for helmet, Fiend Cowl to remove buffs from enemy. You can also use Cleric Cowl. For armor you can use Mercenary Jacket for sustain, or Soldier Armor for damage boost, or just some leather armor with Inferno Shield for some damage resistance and damage reflection. For boots you can use Royal Sandals for damage boost and mobility, or just some plate boots with Rejuvenating Sprint for mobility and sustain. A build for Broadsword looks like that. Those are the swaps. So on the Broadsword, the first Q, the second W, the first passive, Cultist Cowl, the first passive, and Inner Corruption. Mercenary Jacket, you can use Bloodlust, or you can switch to Inferno Shield. It depends on your playstyle and on the opponent that you're playing against. Also, when it comes to the armor, you can use Soldier Armor with the Fury spell. Now, boots, you can use Royal Sandals with Defenseless Rush, or you can switch to some plate shoes and pick the second spell. Also, when it comes to the helmet, if you don't want to play with Cultist Cowl, you can switch to Fiend Cowl with the Purge. For the offhand, Taproot, Thetford Cape, and for the foot you want to use Pyramid Snapper. Number 1, Spear, the best weapon in current meta in corrupted dungeons. The biggest advantage of this weapon is high mobility. The main tactic while playing one-handed spear is kiting your opponent. The best build for one-handed spear is Taproot for offhand, Cultist Cowl for helmet, any leather jacket with Inferno Shield, and any plate shoes with Rejuvenating Sprint. This build gives you some additional damage, resistances, damage reflection, sustain and mobility, so that's everything that you really need. To be honest, one-handed spear, if played well, can win against all the other weapons in corrupted dungeons. And now, finally, in my opinion, the best build for corrupted dungeons right now, one-handed spear build. The first Q, Impaler, the first passive, Cultist Cowl with Inner Corruption and the first passive, any leather jacket with Inferno Shield, any plate boots with the second spell, Rejuvenating Sprint, Thetford Cape for the offhand Taproot, foot Pyramid Snapper, and actually that's everything you need to win with one-handed spear.